really great story I think everyone would enjoy. Goldilocks and the Three Bears, adapted by the public domain version by Catherine Pyle. There was once a little girl whose hair was bright and yellow, that it glittered in the sun like spun gold. For this reason, she was called Goldilocks. One day, Goldilocks went out into the meadows to gather flowers. She wandered on, and after a while, she came across a house in the forest. She was tired and thirsty, so she knocked at the door to see if she could get a drink and rest for a while. Now, though Goldilocks didn't know it, this house belonged to three bears.
Kimmy, I was thinking that, maybe the story could be with dragons instead of bears. You know, dragons instead of bears.
But the story says bears, and besides, you've already got your bear costume.
Maybe we could do dragon bears then.
There was a great big father bear and a middle-sized mother bear and a dear little baby bear, no bigger than Goldilocks herself. But the three bears had gone out to take a walk in the forest while their supper was cooling. So when Goldilocks knocked at the door, no one answered her. She waited a while, and then she knocked again, and still nobody answered her. She pushed open the door, and there stood inside three little chairs right in a row. She thought she would sit down and rest until they came home. So first she sat down in the great big chair, but it was not comfortable. It was though it would swallow her right up. Then she sat down in the middle-sized chair, and the cushion was way too hard and not comfortable at all. Then, Dewey, she sat down in the little chair, and it was just right. It fitted her as though it had been made for her. So there she sat, and she sat, and she sat, and she rocked, until she rocked the bottom right out of it.
She broke the chair?
Yup.
I would be so upset if someone sat in my chair and broke it.
And still, nobody had come home, and there stood three bowls on the table, full of their suppers. They can't be very hungry people, thought Goldilocks, or they would come home to eat. So she went over to the table just to see whether the bowls were full. The first bowl was a great big bowl with a great big spoon in it, and that was the father bear's bowl. The second bowl was a middle-sized bowl with a middle-sized spoon in it, and that was the mother bear's bowl. And the third bowl was a dear little bowl with a little silver spoon in it, and that was the baby bear's bowl. The porridge that was in the bowls smelled so very good that Goldilocks thought she would just taste it. She took up the great spoon and tasted the porridge in the great big bowl, but it was too hot.
Ouch! That's far too hot!
Then she took up the middle-sized spoon and tasted the porridge in the middle-sized bowl, and it was too cold.
Yucky! That's too cold!
Then she took up the little silver spoon and tasted the porridge in the dear little bowl. And it was just right, and it tasted so good that she tasted and tasted and tasted and tasted until she tasted it all up.
Well, there really wasn't that much in there.
After that, she felt very sleepy.
I'm very sleepy.
So she went upstairs to take a look around. She saw 3 beds all in a row. The first bed was a great big bed that belonged to the father bear. The second bed was a middle-sized bed, and that belonged to the mother bear. And the third bed was a dear little bed, and that belonged to the little baby bear. Goldilocks lay down on the great big bed to try it, but the pillow was too high and she wasn't comfortable at all.
This pillow is too high and uncomfortable too.
Then she laid down in the middle-sized bed, and the pillow was too low, and that wasn't comfortable either.
This pillow is way too low, and it's not comfortable at all.
Then she laid down on the little baby bear's bed, and it was exactly right.
Oh, this one's perfect!
It was so very comfortable that she lay there until she went fast asleep. Now, while Goldilocks was still asleep in the little bed, the three bears came home again. And as soon as they stepped inside the door and looked around, they knew that somebody had been there.
Somebody's been sitting in my chair and left the cushions all crooked. And somebody's been sitting in my chair and they left it standing crooked. And somebody's been sitting in my chair and they sat until they sat the bottom out.
Then the three bears went over to the table to get their porridge.
What's this? Somebody's been tasting my porridge and left the spoon on the table. Somebody's been taking my porridge and they splashed it all over the side. And there's somebody been tasting my porridge and they've tasted it until they've tasted it all gone. Look! If somebody's been here, they must still be here.
First, the father bear looked at his bed.
Somebody's been lying in my bed and pulled all the blankets down. Somebody's been lying in my bed and pulled all the pillows off.
Then the baby bear looked at his bed, and there lay Goldilocks with her cheeks as pink as roses and her golden hair all spread over the pillow.
And somebody's been sleeping in my bed and they're still there.
Now, when Goldilocks in her dreams heard the baby bear's voice, it was so shrill and sharp that it woke her right up. She sat up in bed, and there were three bears staring right at her.
Oh my goodness me!
She tumbled out of bed and ran to the window. It was open, and out she jumped before the bears could stop her. Then home she ran as fast as she could. She never went near the forest again.
That was a great story! I don't know about you guys, but I would be pretty mad if somebody was sleeping in my bed and ate up all my porridge.